It's my mom's eggplant Parmesan recipe, next on Happy Healthy Living with Yvonne Douglas. So today we're going to make eggplant Parmesan, and I'm going to go through some of the ingredients that you're going to need, and then we're going to get started. So you need an eggplant, and this eggplant I got at Target. Now to get a good eggplant you want to make sure that it's pretty firm, has a little tenderness when you touch it, press into it. It shouldn't be wrinkly or anything like that. That tells you that the eggplant is probably getting old, but a good eggplant, like I said, it's going to have a nice solid base, a little pressure when you press into it, I should say. You should be able to kind of, it should give a little bit. And an eggplant, in case you didn't know, is actually a fruit. So we're going to make eggplant Parmesan. I cannot wait. I just love eggplant Parmesan. I haven't had it in a long time. My mom used to make it all the time. And this is basically how she used to make it. She did use mozzarella cheese for it. I'm going to be using some mozzarella cheese and also Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, my favorite cheese. You know that. I love this cheese, so we're going to grate some of that cheese with it. So mozzarella cheese or mozzarella cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. And we're going to make a sauce. And our sauce is going to consist of some onions. I have a yellow onion here. This is probably about a half of a large yellow onion that I already cut up, diced up. We're gonna need some garlic, minced garlic. And I'm gonna be using cherry tomatoes along with some tomato sauce. And we're gonna be cooking our sauce a little bit in the saucepan. And that's the sauce we're gonna be using for this. For our eggplant Parmesan, we need egg. So we're gonna get some eggs right here, and I'm probably gonna use one or two. And I'm actually gonna use two for this one. Looking at the size of this, I'll probably use two. And we're going to add just a little bit of water to our egg. So here's egg number 2. And we're going to beat that up. I just use a fork. This is the way my mom used to show me how to do it. And we're going to add just a little bit of water, probably about a tablespoon of water to this. This is my tablespoon of water. Okay. And now what we're going to do is add just a little bit of salt to the egg and a little bit of pepper. So probably less than a teaspoon on each. This is freshly cracked black peppercorns. Okay, so there's my egg mixture. And then for the flour, you're gonna need some flour. Probably like close to a cup of flour, maybe a little less. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna add some pepper to the flour, probably less than a teaspoon. Same thing with the salt. And then we're just gonna mix that up a little bit. Okay. Now, in the flour, I'm also going to add some onion powder and garlic powder. And also going to add some oregano dried leaves. Okay, so just a little sprinkle of that. I'm gonna get a fork here. Just toss that into the flour like that. Okay, so with our breadcrumbs, we're going to be using Italian style breadcrumbs, Progresso breadcrumbs. And how much? Usually I just do a little mound like that on a plate. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at our eggplant. Now there's two ways you can cut up your eggplant. You can do it sideways, and I've seen it done sideways. My mom used to cut it like this, and that's how I'm gonna do it too. So we're gonna cut it like that, and we want it to be probably about close to a 1/2 inch or so in thickness, okay? Let's get started. Okay, so in my saucepan here, I'm gonna turn on the heat, and we're gonna add some olive oil to the base, basically enough to coat the bottom. We're gonna let that heat up just a little bit, then we're gonna add our onions and then our garlic. Okay, so we're heating up our oil and we're gonna add our onions. Now we want to cook our onions till they get nice and tender. So that's going to take around 7 minutes. So taking a look at our onions, it's been about 5 minutes and they're coming along nicely. So I'm going to right now add my 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Here's my 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. And I'm going to stir that in with the onions. I'm going to cook this for another 2 minutes. Your flame should be on a low to medium flame, but more towards the low side. Smells so good. I just love garlic and onions together, so good. Okay, so it's been about 7 minutes and I can see that my onions are starting to get translucent, which is what we want. And that looks good. And now I have 5 ounces here of cherry tomatoes that I've sliced in half. And we're gonna add that to make our sauce. And we're just going to let that cook and until those tomatoes get soft and a little smushy. And we're gonna actually put this on a low flame with a lid on it and let that cook for around 5-6 minutes. While your tomatoes are cooking down, what we're gonna do is get our eggplant here. And we're gonna start slicing our eggplant. I am going to leave the skin on it. You can peel off the skin, but I'm gonna leave it on it. And remember, we want it to be around probably around 1/2 inch thick or so, but you know, I'm looking at this, I'm wondering if I should cut it this way. Now I'm gonna cut it this way. This is the way my mom used to cut it. She used to cut it this way. So we're gonna do that. Remember, about 1/2 inch thick. So these sizes are really nice for Parmesan, like that. But we have some smaller ones and that's okay. All right, so what we're gonna do with our slices now is we are going to add it to our flour, our egg, and then our breadcrumbs, okay? We are gonna be frying this up in oil. Now you can also bake these in the oven if you wanted to, but We will be putting these in the oven with the cheese so it melts and cooks some more, but this is how I like to do it at first. Okay, so let's take a look at our tomatoes. Yeah, you can see how they're breaking down. That's what you want. So it's been about 5 minutes. I'm gonna leave it in here, I think just for another minute or two. Remember, this is cooking on a low heat. And we're just gonna break that down just a little bit more covered, and then we're gonna be adding our tomato sauce to it. Okay, so our tomatoes have cooked down. That's exactly what we want. Looks good. All right, so now what we're gonna do is add our tomato sauce, and I'm using Hunt's tomato sauce. This is a, let me see. This is a 15-ounce can of Hunt's tomato sauce. I'm going to be adding a little bit of Italian seasoning to here. And now I'm adding some basil leaves, a couple of basil leaves to the sauce, and giving it a couple of stirs. And we're also going to add salt and a little bit of pepper. And really that's to taste, so maybe about a teaspoon of each. And give it a nice stir. And we're gonna let that cook a little bit more. Okay, so I wanted to show you the steps. Here I have my eggplant that have been sliced. You can see they're approximately 1/2 inch thick. So first we want to put it in the flour, our little flour mixture here. You just toss it around there, just get it nicely coated with some flour. Then we're going to add it to the egg. Add it to the breadcrumbs. Give it a toss in the breadcrumbs. Make sure it's nicely coated, those breadcrumbs, and then do this one. Make sure you let it drip a little bit. And then very simply add it to your plate here. And I'm going to continue making the rest. Okay, so I set my oven to 375. We want to preheat our oven, and while that's happening, we're going to get our Parmesan Reggiano cheese, which I always say is my favorite cheese. And I'm going to grate it. We're going to grate probably around close to a cup, maybe a little bit over 1/2 cup, 3/4 of a cup, let's say that. And this is going to be mainly for the topping part. We're going to kind of be doing layers as we layer our eggplants. And we're going to be adding mozzarella cheese, but I do want to have on the top some Parmesan cheese. And this is the Parmesan Reggiano cheese. Okay, so looking at our sauce, I decided to add a small little can, an 8-ounce can to it because I looked at the eggplant and I was thinking eggplant was a little bit bigger than what I thought it was. So I'm just making a little bit extra sauce with it. So really depending on how big your eggplant is, that really determines your sauce. But if you start out with that 15-ounce can, and then you can look at it and say to yourself, am I gonna have enough sauce? And if you have a little extra sauce, that's fine too. You could always put it in a jar and use it for some pasta. But this is a very simple sauce. It's not hard, doesn't have to cook long because the onions are already cooked. And it's gonna be going in the oven too. So this probably takes about 15 minutes or so. All right, let me taste it. Oh, yum. That tastes yummy. Okay, so I have my skillet here, my very large skillet, and I'm gonna add the olive oil to the base. You wanna add enough to cover the base and a little bit more. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more. And we gotta heat this up really nice and hot because then we're gonna add our eggplant to it. And the eggplant's gonna cook around 2 minutes per side, something like that. Okay, so this is heated up pretty nicely. I'm just gonna lower it just a little bit. And we're gonna start adding our eggplant. Now, if you notice, I have a plate here and a paper towel, because when we take them out, we're just gonna add them to that paper towel so it soaks up some of that oil. I'm gonna start putting it down. We're gonna have to do a couple of times because you don't want to put any more than what's there. Okay, we're gonna take a look at the color. It's been about 2 minutes. Yep, oh yeah, look at that. Can you see that? Yep, that's the color we want. Perfect. Excellent. So we're gonna let this cook for another 2 minutes. And then we'll add it to our paper towel, and then we'll have our next round. Okay, let's take a look. Yep, looking good. I think they're ready, so I'm gonna take it out and I'm adding it to this paper towel. So once again, it's about 2 minutes per side. Very nice. Okay, now I'm going to add my next round. Remember, 2 minutes for each side. And then we'll start putting the cheese on it. Okay, so we have a Pyrex baking dish, and what we want to do is get our sauce. And we are going to just add probably like 2 spoonfuls or so to the bottom. We just want to put enough where we just cover. I need more spoon rests. Just cover the base. So I'm just kind of shaking it around. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more. There we go. That looks good. Okay, so you don't want to put like too much at the bottom, just enough, you know, to cover the base. Tiny bit more, just like that. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start layering our eggplant, and you kind of want make sure you fill up the space. That's why I kind of like these little ones that kind of fit right in there. Put one right here, put one right there. I got another small one here. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add some sauce. Just going to put a little dab on each one. Use my hot plate over here so I don't have to keep reaching back for the sauce. And now we're going to add our mozzarella. So I'm just using mozzarella in the bag. You know, you can do what you want if you want to use fresh mozzarella, but fresh mozzarella might be a little too creamy. But like I said, you could do what you want. Okay, so I got my mozzarella, and now I'm going to place the other eggplants on top. almost like it's little sandwiches. And I'm doing the big ones first. I'm gonna have a few that, move this one over. A few that don't have one on it, and that's okay. I'm just gonna leave it plain like that. And I'm gonna add more sauce. See, yeah, I really didn't need that extra can now that I'm looking at it. I'm not gonna have that much left over actually, so. All right. This is gonna be so good, y'all. All right. So now I'm gonna get, well, my mouth is watering. I love Italian food. Italian food and Mexican food are my favorite. And then again, anything European too. But then I like your basic American hamburger. Let's face it, I love it all. Okay. So we got our mozzarella cheese. Our oven's already preheated, 375. And now going to add the Parmesan cheese on top. You really want to cover it with that Parmesan cheese. Yummy. And then for that extra sauce, I'm just gonna put it a little dab here and there. So, actually I'm using all of the sauce, so I take it back. Add that extra can. Depends on, like I said, how large your eggplant is, how big you're using your baking dish too. This is a 9 by 13. All right, we're gonna put in the oven. It's 375. We're gonna put it between 20 and 30 minutes. We just wanna make sure all that cheese melts, and it's gonna be fantastic. And then we'll have a taste test. Stay tuned. Oh my gosh, here it is. Look at it. Oh, smells so good. And it looks fantastic. We're gonna let that sit for a little bit, and then we're gonna have a taste test. Yum. Okay, so I got a little pasta on the plate here. And now let me have one of these. Oh, they look so good. Oh wow, look at that. That is perfect. Oh, yum. And then I'm just gonna get a little sauce from the side. Just sprinkle my pasta a little bit. I'm one of those that really don't like my pasta be just soaked in sauce. I just like it to have a little sauce. But look at this. Perfect, perfect dish. Super, I can't wait to try it. Take a bite. Oh wow. Thanks, Mom. So delicious. My mom's eggplant parmesan. Thank you so much for joining us on Happy Healthy Living with Yvonne Douglas today. Remember, if you want that homey vibe, you need to subscribe. And please give this video a like. Until next time, my friends. Ciao.